Hey everyone, it's Hailey and today is Bookmas Day 22, so I am going to be doing some tier ranking for all of the books that I read in 2021. Before we get into today's video, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and also click the bell icon so you'll be notified whenever I post. I am posting a new video every single day for the entire month of December, so you don't want to miss any of those. Yesterday, I showed you guys all the books that I read in 2021 and went through some stats and everything, so I will have that link down below, as well as the entire Bookmas playlist in case you may have missed anything. So I've done a couple of tier ranking videos in the past, and I don't know if people still do them, but I have a lot of fun with them. So I definitely wanted to bring it back this year. It's really hard for me, but it's also very enjoyable at the same time. So I think I got the categories pretty well this time because that is something that I've kind of struggled with in the past. I haven't had enough categories, but I think I did. I just sounded American for a second there, but I think I did a pretty good job. So for my number one tier, we have the best of the best. These are obviously like my absolute favorite books. Then we have not the greatest, but still pretty great. See, I feel like that implies, can I edit this now? I feel like not the greatest, but still pretty great implies that it was just like, it wasn't that good. So I'm gonna change that one to great. Can I add, I'm gonna have to move all of this down, aren't I? Oh, this is so annoying. Okay, so we'll have great. Gonna do great, good, middle of the road, okay, and nope. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna leave it like that. I don't want to overcomplicate things with like trying to be funny and have weird names. So we have the best of the best is the top tier. Then we have great, good. I feel like those are self-explanatory. Like a great book would be like one that I really liked, but it wasn't perfect. I had a few issues with it. A good book would be one that was a solid, enjoyable read, had some issues, but I had a good time with it. Middle of the road is kind of, it doesn't stand out either way. It doesn't like, it's middle of the road. So it's just in the middle. It's not good. It's not okay. It just is. It's very average. Then okay is kind of like bordering on didn't like it or bad. I had more issues with it than I enjoyed it. And then nope is obviously like things that I really didn't like. And I'll also probably include DNFs in nope. So let's get to it, shall we? I mean, we're starting off on an interesting one because the first book that I have is magique. So it's the French version of Magic Treehouse series, which I've started trying to read those so then I can learn a little bit more French. So that's kind of just funny to me that that's the first book there. I mean, I don't know why it's the first book there actually. I thought it was in order of when I read them, but it's not. Anyways, this one's interesting because like, do I judge it off of the French or do I judge it off of the original version that I loved when I was a kid? I think I'm gonna judge it off of the original version from when I was a kid, and I'm gonna put it in the best of the best because honestly, the Magic Treehouse series is top tier and you can't tell me any different. It is fabulous. It is art in its highest form. I love it so much. And honestly, I did still have a lot of fun reading it in French, even though, I mean, obviously it took me a lot longer and I had to write down a lot of words that I didn't know. It still was very enjoyable. Next is Stay Sweet by Siobhan Vivian. This one, I would say it's either in middle of the road or good because it didn't really like stand out to me that much. I think I'm gonna put it in middle of the road for right now. I'm kind of torn. I'm always too indecisive for these things, but there was nothing wrong with Stay Sweet. It just kind of, it was a little bit forgettable to me, to be honest. Like, it's a cute summer romance, but it just didn't go beyond that really. So next is Invictus by Ryan Groden, and this one I'm going to put in great because I really liked Invictus. It's a super cool sci-fi story, time travel, all of that. I had a lot of fun with that one. Next is The Downstairs Girl by Stacey Lee, and this one I think I'm going to put in good. It's kind of good, bordering on great, but I just didn't quite enjoy it enough to put it in great. It was a really interesting and fun story. Well, fun in a way, but I kind of wanted a little bit more from it that I don't think I quite got. So that's why I feel like it makes sense to put it in good. Next is Sky Without Stars by, what are their names? Jessica Brody and Joanne Rundell. This is gonna go into nope because I actually ended up DNFing that one. I would maybe put an okay because like, I didn't hate what I read. I just was really bored and didn't really see the point in continuing. I know that people have said that like it gets better with the other books, but once again, I don't like series, so I am like not the person to tell that to, because I'm just, I don't want to have to trudge through a book in order to get to what's good. Like, no, I don't have the attention span for that, to be honest. But it's a sci-fi Les Mis retelling. Like, it's super interesting in terms of concept. I just kind of was like a little bit meh about the execution. So next is The Light Between Worlds by Laura E. Weymouth. And this one is going to go in either nope or okay. I'm kind of tempted to put in okay, so then we'll have like an even line, which I didn't plan, but that would be fun. But I'm gonna put in nope. This book had like a lot of potential. I thought it was gonna be really cool, but it actually just ended up being very depressing, and I felt like it wasn't really going anywhere. There wasn't a plot or anything like that. Like, it's kind of like Narnia, but then it's dealing with the characters after they've come back. But I just like never really got the ground under me in the first part because it's following two sisters. So I just felt like I didn't know enough in the first part to really care about the second part. It just, I don't know. I think I DNF'd that one actually. I can't even remember if I DNF'd it. It's kind of like out of my mind. Next is Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe. I'm going to put this one in great because I think this book did a great job with what it was trying to do. It's a historical fiction, and it's following a girl who's trying to learn more about her identity as a queer person, and she's really worried about like the repercussions of that as a Chinese American woman and living in the 1950s. So she's like going to drag clubs and stuff. It was just a really interesting book. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Next is The Field Guide to the North American Teenager by Ben Philippe. I feel like I want like to put this one in between great and good because it was really good. I think I should have done another category. I never do enough categories. I'm gonna put it in good though, because I didn't mind the fact that it was an unlikable narrator, but that is kind of what keeps me from putting it into great. I kind of want to put it in great. Oh my god, this is so hard. No, I'm gonna stick with my first instinct, and I'm gonna keep it in good. No, I'm gonna move it to great. Okay, so I'm moving it to great because I really did enjoy this book. It sticks out to me as one that I remember what happened in it, so that's like a big deal, but also because I was reading it during the move. But I liked that the author like didn't have trouble putting the main character in his place, which was really nice because the main character was super judgmental and could be very hard to read about sometimes, but it was just a really good novel about like the teenage experience. Next is Full Disclosure by Cameron Garrett. I'm gonna put this one in good. It was a really good book about AIDS and HIV, and it was very educational and also had some really great characters to it. It was good. Like, nothing wrong with it at all. Next is Lost in the Neverwoods by Eden Thomas. This one's going to have to go in nope because I actually ended up DNFing that one. I just couldn't get through it. I felt like it wasn't going anywhere. It's a Peter Pan retelling, but it just wasn't quite like going where I wanted it to go. So unfortunate. Next is actually a nonfiction. What? It's a self-help book, and that is Atomic Habits by James Clear. This I'm going to put into great. Maybe because I just want like a self-help book to literally change my life. And this one was very accessible. It wasn't like convoluted or anything like that. It wasn't telling like all these different stories that don't really like add anything to it. It was very like, here are the rules, here's the framework and everything. And I do think it did a really great job. It's just like, it didn't like completely change my life, but it is something that I definitely refer back to a lot. Next up is Where Dreams Descend by Janella Angelis. This one is going to go into good. I really I really enjoyed Where Dreams Descend, but I don't want to continue with the series because I was kind of confused. It was super cool, but it just kind of left me feeling a little bit like, what? So I feel like good is a good place for it. Next is Don't Read the Comments by Eric Smith. This one I'm going to put into great. I really enjoyed the characters, I enjoyed the storyline, and I enjoyed the commentary that I had. I feel like this is going to be a very top-heavy list once again. Where are all my like best of the best? What's happening here? think everything is all over the place. But next up is I Want to Be Where You Are by Christina Forrest. I really enjoyed this one. I kind of want an in-between good and great once again. But I'm going to go ahead and, oh god, this is so hard. Oh, I hate doing these. I think I'm gonna put it in good because I have another book by this author that I think I liked a little bit better. But it was a really good story. Like good, there's nothing negative about that, okay? Like no, there's no negativity here. Basically from like middle of the road up, those are books that I would recommend. And then okay and nope, it's kind of like, you can take a chance on it if you think it would be something that you would really like because everyone likes something different, but they're not like I would recommend them. Next is The Blackbird Girls by, who's this by? Anne Blankman. So this one's actually gonna be the first one for okay. I just thought the book was going to be different than what it was. It could go into middle of the road theoretically, but I'm gonna keep it in okay. It's a middle grade story and it's dealing with the Chernobyl disaster and you're following two young girls who have been displaced by this. And I just felt like it kind of lacked focus, which made it a little bit harder for me to get what I wanted to out of it, if that makes sense. Next is I Love You So Mochi by Sarah Kuhn. So this one, I'm gonna put it in good. I did like, it's an adorable book, but I kind of want to put it in the middle of the road because it didn't like blow me away. There are a couple things that I had with it, but I do definitely think it's worth the read. If you want like a cute story, it's a great one to go with. So I'm gonna leave it in good. I think it was a really cute romance. It's set in Japan. Like it's a lot of fun and there's a lot of, it's kind of coming of age as well. There's a lot of introspection with the main character. Next is I Wish You All the Best by Mason Deaver. And this one I am going to put in good. I really enjoyed actually, I think great, because I feel like I hadn't read anything like this before and it really delved into the experiences of a trans person and specifically someone who identifies as non-binary. It follows a non-binary main character who comes out to their family and their family completely rejects them. So it's really heartbreaking, but it's such a like raw and honest look at what that's like and what it's like to be non-binary and constantly be gendered all the time. So I think it's a really, really great read. And I kind of forgot I read that this year, to be honest. Next is Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim, which I'm also going to put into great. That one had like such a beautiful world. I will say it's kind of divided into two parts. I don't remember if it's like formally divided, but there's like the one part where it's a tailor's competition and then the other part is more of like a quest narrative, and I enjoyed the first part way more than I did the second part. However, the world and the characters did like completely sweep me away. I feel like I might, should I put it in good? I guess I should. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna put it in good, but like on the upper end. I'm so bad at this. Next is My Contrary Mary by Cynthia Hand, Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows. I just got so confused. But this is the latest book of the Lady Janie series, and it is going to go in the best of the best because it was like the return that I wanted for that series. It was so enjoyable. Mary Queen of Scots, like, I just really loved it. I hadn't liked the one from last year, but I really liked this one. Next is The How and the Why by Cynthia Hand, and this one's going to go in good. I think it was a really solid book about family and specifically dealing with the main character. She has been adopted and she's learning more about her birth mother, but she also is going through a lot of struggles with her own mother and like she is very ill, but the main character like just made some decisions that makes it hard for me to say that this book is great because a couple of the things that she said I just didn't like. Next up is This Poison Heart by Kaylin Bayron, and this one I'm gonna put in middle of the road. It honestly doesn't go either way for me. I didn't think it was great, didn't think it was bad. It just kind of is, once again, I feel like middle of the road is kind of forgettable reads for me. I think part of why this one is more like middle of the road than it is good is because I was expecting a lot more from it. I really enjoyed Cinderella is Dead by this author, so I was hoping that I would enjoy this one just as much, but unfortunately I didn't, and it makes me really sad, but oh well. Next is Starsight by Brandon Sanderson, which is going to go in the best of the best. I actually today filmed my like reacting to negative reviews, and there were quite a few for this one actually that now like I've just been thinking about, but I did really love this book. I love the fact that it went to an alien world and just built upon what was made in the first book. Like, I understand why people wouldn't like it, but I still really enjoyed it. Next is What's Not to Love by Emily Wibberley and Austin Sigmund Broca, and this one is going to go in Nope because I just nope. Like, I hated these characters. I didn't get very far in and I just hated it. I don't really like enemies to lovers. I struggle with it a little bit, and this one was just like the ultimate annoyance. I've actually made a decision. I'm going to move Sky Without Stars to okay. I know I DNF'd it, but I'm going to move it there because I also am going to put The Ones We're Meant to Find by Joanne He in okay, because I didn't not like what I read. I didn't have the same feelings as I had for like What's Not to Love or Lost in the Neverwoods, and that I just, with this one, The Ones We Were Meant to Find, I felt like the story was done and then there was still a lot more left, so I just lost interest. And that's kind of what happened with Sky Without Stars. I can't speak anymore, but I kind of lost interest in that one. Next is Saving Savannah by Tanya Bolden. This one's going to have to go in okay as well. I wanted this book to be different than what it was. I wanted there to be more of a story, more of a plot line, but it really read like a textbook, which made it quite boring, honestly. And Simmer Down by Sarah Smith is going to go in Nope, because this once again is the case of it was enemies to lovers, and the first interaction with the love interest, I just immediately hated him, and like she should have too, so I just, no thank you. Next is This Is Kind of an Epic Love Story by Kaysen Callender, and this one I'm going to put in okay. Kind of bordering on Nope a little bit. I just really didn't like the decisions that the characters made, and I felt like the characters deserved a lot better. There was like a lot of infidelity, and it was just really like casual, and I was confused by it because I felt like I was being told one thing, that like the characters really cared for one another, but then there was so much cheating happening, so it was weird. Next is Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas, House of Earth and Blood. This one I'm going to put in middle of the road. I know so many people were like blown away by this book and said it was like her best ever, but for me, I was really bored and I wouldn't have gotten through it if I hadn't been like alternating between listening to the audiobook and actually physically reading it. There's no way I would have gotten through that one. So we're just gonna leave it in middle of the road because like it wasn't bad per se, but I won't be continuing with the series. Next is The House on the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune, which I don't really know where to rank this one because I know there's kind of been quite a bit of controversy surrounding this book recently, and I don't know, I haven't like looked into it enough to have any say on it, so I'm just gonna put it in middle of the road. I know it does have to do with residential schools, and the author said that that was part of the inspiration, which a lot of people really didn't like. I haven't looked more into it, but if you haven't looked into Canada's history of residential schools, I highly encourage you to do so because it is absolutely disgusting and not a lot of people know about it. But this past year, they have found a ton of bodies of children who went to these residential schools. So it has, like, it's getting more discussed as it should be, but it's terrible that like it had to get to that point for that to happen. But yeah, this video isn't about that. I just felt the need to say that. When I read this book initially, I really enjoyed it, but I don't really feel comfortable like putting it as something I would recommend when I know that a lot of people were very uncomfortable with the story. So moving on, next is When You Were Everything by Ashley Woodfolk, which I would say is a great read. I really enjoyed how this one dealt with friendship loss, and it did a very good job of it. Next is Early Departures by Justin A. Reynolds, which once again, I'm going to put in great. This book like completely took me out. Actually, do I want to put this one in best of the best? Yeah, I think I want to put that one in best of the best, actually, now that I'm thinking about it more, because it just had such an impact on me. It like blew me away entirely, so I think it belongs on the best of the best list. Next up is One of the Good Ones by Micah Moulit and Maritza Moulit, and this one I'm going to put in middle of the road. It wasn't a bad book, it just kind of took a lot of twists and turns that I wasn't expecting, and I still don't exactly know how I feel about those. So I feel like you know, middle of the road is a solid place for it because I can't really sort out my feelings for it. I just keep thinking, do I want to move When You Were Everything to the top tier? No, let's commit. Anyways, next up is Now That I Found You by Christina Forrest. This is a really fun mystery story, so I'm going to go ahead and put this one in. No, I said I was going to put that one there and then that one there. I was just thinking like the main character is kind of unlikable, so that's why I was maybe going to do it, but no. I'm gonna commit. Next is Paris Is Always a Good Idea by, what's her name? It's McKinley. Jen McKinley, I think? I can't see the author on here, but I'm gonna put this one in good. I really liked it. I liked that it was a romance that kind of like kept me guessing, honestly, and ended up going where I wasn't expecting it to. So that was really refreshing. And also, I mean, the travel was really enjoyable too. So it was a good time. Next is A Taste for Love by Jennifer Yen, and this one I'm going to put in okay. I wanted it to be so much better than it was, but I felt like you spent a lot of time just not getting to the point, which made me really bored. So I wanted more of like the baking competition that the mother set up for her to find her perfect Asian American boy, but most, like a good chunk of it was like she went to go and visit her sister, and I was like, why are we here? And it just kind of felt like wasting time. Next up is We Are Not Free by Tracy Chi, which I'm just gonna go ahead and slide right up there to the best of the best, because this was my #1 favorite book of this past year. I absolutely fell in love with it. It was such an incredibly well done story, and like it belongs there. Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert will go in the great tier because I really enjoyed this one. I love Talia Hibbert's writing, and Chloe Brown just didn't mesh with me that well just because it was enemies to lovers and I was just kind of like meh about that. But Take a Hint, Danny Brown is fake dating, and that I love that, so it was really great. Next is Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko, which I'm going to put in the best of the best. Such a cool world, such a great debut fantasy, loved it. I'm gonna try and be faster because I keep on talking for way too long. This video is so long. You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson is going to go in great. A really, really adorable lesbian romance, and I just loved the two characters. They were so cute, and I loved how they were like standing up against everything. It was just very good. Horrid by Katrina Leno is gonna go in okay as well. It was fine, like just, I don't know. It didn't stand out. It's very, very forgettable. Unbirthday by Liz Braswell, I'm going to put in great. I super enjoyed what they did with the Alice story, how they did this retelling, and it was very enjoyable. I feel like I just want to put everything in great right now. So The Black Kids by Christina Hammonds Reed, I am going to put this one in good, great, good, great. I don't know. I'm gonna put it in good. This was a really enjoyable one and a different setting. It's set during the riots in LA, and it's a girl who she goes from being just like one of the friends to being the black girl, and she's dealing with that and seeing all the prejudice around her. So it was really an eye-opening read. A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik is gonna go in nope, because I literally got like 35 pages into it, I think, and then I literally was like, nope. I just knew it was gonna be something I wasn't going to really enjoy, so I just gave up on it. A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow by Laura Taylor Namey is going to go in good. The only reason, like, I really liked this book, don't get me wrong. I loved the setting, the cooking, the culture, but I found the main character could be kind of difficult for me to understand at times because she was so like homesick, and I get it, but it also kind of annoyed me sometimes, to be honest. In a Holidays by Christina Lauren is going to go in good. I think part of that is a me problem because I love Christina Lauren, so I was super excited when they were coming out with a Christmas book, but I also read it last year, and last year I just like didn't want anything to do with Christmas because I was really sad that no one was coming home. So I think that kind of affected my enjoyment of it a little bit, but I do still think it was a solid one that like I would recommend. Legendborn by Tracy Dion is going to go in great. Super cool world and everything, and awesome characters, and I can't wait to read more about them. Crazy Stupid Bromance by Lisa K. Adams is going to go in middle of the road. It was fine. It's just like definitely not my favorite of the series, and that's sad because it's a cat cafe owner. So I wanted a little bit more. Real Men Knit by Quanah Jackson I'm going to put in good because I did really like this one. It's brothers in this knitting shop that like their grandmother used to own, and there's this girl that they kind of grew up with her, and she works at the knitting shop, and it's just like a second chance romance, like so cute. Heartstopper by Alice Oseman is going to go in great. Really, really enjoyable graphic novel series, and this volume was really enjoyable. The previous volume, volume 3 I think it is, would still be my favorite. Blade of Secrets by Trisha Lemonseller is going to go in great because it was really great. I really liked that one, read it super quickly, and it was a solid fantasy. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins, I'm going to put in okay. Like, it was fine. I think I say that after every time I put something in okay, but it just, I don't know. I don't think it was necessary. Kind of a Big Deal by Shannon Hale is gonna go in nope, because that book was just, wow. It was a whirlwind. It was a lot. So moving on. Chasing Lucky by Jen Bennett. This one would go in good. It's not my favorite of hers. It wasn't bad by any means, but I just have other romances of hers that I've enjoyed a little bit more. The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes is going to go in great because super cool concept, and even the execution was awesome. I did really like that one. They Went Left by Monica Hesse is also going to go into great, I think, because I'm torn about the ending of this one, and I found it a little bit predictable, but it's like the only book that I've read that is post-liberation, World War II, and you see the PTSD rather that the main character is going through. So I think for that reason I'm going to put it in great, but kind of bordering on good, just because I'm still not really sure how I feel about the ending of it. Love and Olives by Jenna Evans Welch is going to go into good. It's not my favorite of that like Love and series, but it wasn't bad. The Olympus thing, or not Olympus, Atlantis thing was really cool, and how the main character is trying to like connect with her estranged father again, and he is obsessed with hunting for Atlantis, and the two of them bonded over it, and she just has had a lot of struggles with him since then. But I felt like it was way longer than it had to be, which was a big part of why I didn't put it in like higher. Today, Tonight, Tomorrow by Rachel Lynn Solomon is going to go in great. It was a really enjoyable graduation story, enemies to lovers, academic rivals. I know, it's surprising that I have an enemies to lovers one that high. Star Daughter by Shveta Thakrar I'm going to put in good. Loved the world, loved the writing, and I enjoyed the characters, but I felt like it did read like a debut. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just like there were certain things that were a little bit clunky, and while the writing was beautiful, I felt like sometimes it could have been like a little bit more refined. Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas is going to go in the best of the best, because it really is the best of the best. I feel like I don't have as many in the best of the best, but is this list even going to make sense with my other list? I don't know, but we're just going to deal with it. When You Get the Chance by Tom Ryan and Robin Stevenson, I believe, are the authors, is going to go in middle of the road, but almost good. It wasn't like, I don't know, I just felt like I wanted it to be a little bit different. It's about cousins who go on a pride road trip, so they are queer and they're like connecting over that. I don't really remember much of that one, to be honest. Next is the Falling in Love Montage by Sierra Smith, I think is how you say it. I forget how it was supposed to be said. It's an Irish name and someone told me, now I can't remember, but I'm gonna put that one in good. It was very interesting. Didn't really go where I thought it was going to go, but like in a good way. You Have a Match by Emma Lord is going to go in middle of the road, but it also could kind of go into good. I just was kind of a little bit let down after Tweet Cute reading this book, and it doesn't stand out to me all that much. Love is a Revolution by Renee Watson is also going to go in middle of the road, because it was fine. I just like the main character. I really struggled with her. Tales from the Hinterland by Melissa Albert I'm gonna put in middle of the road as well. I think I wanted like some of the tales to be more strong, well, stronger. Some were stronger than others, and some of the ones that were weaker kind of surprised me because they seemed more vital to the story. Sky Hunter by Marie Lu. I DNF'd this one, but I'm gonna put it in okay because there was nothing wrong with it. It's just like I was bored and I felt like it wasn't really anything new, and I just didn't really care to continue. Dial A for Aunties by Jessie Q. Sutanto is going to go in the best of the best because I so enjoyed that book. It was a lot of fun, great romance, adorable, just basically everything I wanted. The Lives of Saints by Lee Bardugo is going to go in great. This was a really solid compilation of short stories, and I got everything I wanted from that one too. A Fell Love Story by Loanne Lee is going to go in middle of the road. I did DNF this one, but I'm putting it in middle of the road because it did have like a lot of redeeming qualities to it. However, I just couldn't tell the two characters apart and their perspectives and didn't know where the story was going. So I think part of that might be me, and that's why I DNF'd it. In Deeper Waters by F.T. Lukens, I'm also going to put in middle of the road. Wow, I wasn't putting anything there and now I'm putting everything there. Oops. But this was a really cool fantasy story. I just think the advertising kind of made it seem like it was going to be something different than what it was, but like I still enjoyed what it was. I'm trying not to spoil, that's why I'm not saying anything more. Next is Wings of Ebony by J.L., which I'm going to put in good, great, good, great, good. I'm gonna put in good, because I did have a couple issues with it, but I love the sisterhood. The world was really cool. One of my issues was that I found the world kind of hard to understand at times. I didn't quite feel like it was built very strongly. Luck of the Titanic by Stacey Lee is definitely going to go into great. That's just like, I have an obsession with shipwrecks, so it just makes sense. Tokyo Ever After by Miko Jean is going to go in the best of the best because I had so much fun with that book. It was awesome, and it's really just the best of the best. Where the Rhythm Takes You by Sarah Doss, I'm going to put into good or great. I'm not sure. I find it so hard to choose between these two categories, but I'll settle for good for it. It's about a girl on an island resort and it's a second chance romance, and it did definitely transport me to the island and everything. Like, it was a really good read. Next is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, which is going to go in the best of the best. Another solid Emily Henry book. Really liked it. Jay's Gay Agenda, I'm going to put in okay. I just didn't like Jay as a character. Like, he started out so great, but then he started making some decisions and I felt like the other characters deserved a lot better. So I became very quickly frustrated with him and I just couldn't do it anymore. Instructions for Dancing by Nicola Yoon is either going to go in middle of the road or good. I don't know if like part of it was when I read it. I think I'm going to put it in middle of the road though. I found the story to be quite similar to The Sun Is Also a Star, but not in a bad way. It was really fun and I liked it, but it just didn't really like blow me away like her other books have. It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. This is going to go in okay. It was fine. Like, it's a Schitt's Creek kind of story. It's inspired by Alexis, but I already kind of talked about my issues with it. It's just, yeah. Take Me Home Tonight by Morgan Matson is going to go either in middle of the road or good. I think I'm gonna put this one in good. Actually, I think I'm gonna put it in middle of the road, but it's on the higher end. Yeah. It was a fun New York story, but once again, it's kind of one that I've forgotten about a little bit. I liked the characters and everything, but I also remember having a couple of issues, but I loved the setting. Small Favors by Erin A. Craig is going to go in middle of the road because it wasn't bad, but it was kind of boring. Like, there wasn't really all that much happening, and then certain characters were just like forgotten about in the end and you never really found out what happened to them, which was weird. So don't know what to think about that. White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson is going to go in great. I think this book was so interesting. Like, it's a haunted house story but with a twist, and it just absolutely blew me away and I wasn't expecting it at all. A Holly Jolly Diwali I am going to put in good. I really enjoyed that story. It was super cute. Loved going to India alongside the character. Like, it was a good time. And finally, The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren I'm going to put in great because I think it was a solid adult romance. Okay, so that is my final tier ranking. So it is actually like pretty balanced out. I guess more than, I'm not sure what it looked like last year. I can't remember, but I feel like it's more like middle heavy. It's not so top heavy. For some reason, I remember it being kind of top heavy last year, but I find these videos so hard to do, but I also have so much fun with them. But like, don't take it too seriously. It's just kind of like, I'm trying to remember like how I really felt about it when I read it, and sometimes if I'm thinking about like something else, like another aspect of the book, then I really loved it. I don't know if that really made any sense. It didn't, so I'll just stop talking. But that's all for Bookmas Day 22. For Bookmas Day 23 tomorrow, which is Christmas Eve, so I'm going to be watching Eloise, which is my tradition, but I'm going to be sharing the books that made it onto my Christmas wish list this year. So I hope I will see you tomorrow for that video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you then. Bye!